It feels like a month doesn't go by without Insta360 putting out a new update, and this month is no exception. And in this video I'm going to look at the 10 highlights of all their new features that they've put out for the Insta360 1R camera and the Insta360 1R app. So let's get straight to it. The 1R camera now starts up much faster, but how much faster is the question, so let's see. Believe it or not, it used to take 8 seconds for the camera to start up, which is just ridiculous, especially for impatient people like myself. Insta360 have half that time now to 4 seconds, which is amazing. And 4 seconds could literally mean the difference between you capturing the beginning of something happening or missing it altogether. The audio with the Insta360 cameras has always been a little weak, to say the least, and I've never liked it, and I've never felt like I can rely on it. Even when they introduced the true audio feature, I just felt like their audio didn't sound natural. But in this update, the wind reduction algorithm has got a big upgrade. You can now optimize the audio quality in camera in the noise reduction menu. You can add a voice boost filter or a wind intensity filter. So voice boost will enhance your voice in situations where there is background noise. And the wind intense filter is for high wind situations, and the camera will detect the wind noise and reduce it. So the test that I'm going to do isn't very scientific, and it's not a high adrenaline activity, it's just me sat here with a fan, but it'll give you an idea. This is a sound check with the Insta360 1R with my biggest fan before I've updated the firmware. So this is a sound test. I've just updated the firmware and the noise reduction on this sound test is off. This is a sound test with the latest firmware and the noise reduction is now set to voice boost. This is a sound test on the latest firmware and I've now just switched the noise reduction to fast action. But I'm just going to increase the speed of the fan just to see how it copes. So the fan is now on its fastest speed. I can really feel it blasting towards the camera. So let's see how the noise reduction on fast action copes with this sound. I have to say that I am really impressed even with these initial tests that I've done. Even the audio on the new firmware with the noise reduction filter off is way better than the audio on the old firmware. And when you turn the noise reduction filters on, it takes the sound quality to a whole new level. My voice doesn't sound like an alien, and there's not too much compression going on. There's a natural sound to the voice and you can hear it clearly above the sound of the fan. Now the term natural sound is something I've never been able to say with Insta360 camera sound, so I am really genuinely impressed with this update on the audio. Now the 1R has updated its audio, I'd like to do some more tests up against the GoPro Max, so if you're interested in seeing those videos then please hit the subscribe button so you're told straight away when they're uploaded. Insta360 have also updated the quality of the 3.5mm mic input jack, but I haven't had a chance to test that. The screen brightness is now dimmed when the shutter speed is set to higher than 5 seconds. This is really important when you're monitoring your images, and it now means that you have a more accurate image on the LCD screen when you're shooting at these slower shutter speeds. The 1R can now connect to generation 1 and 2 Airpods for easy audio recording. You just connect via the Bluetooth and audio from your Airpods onboard mics will automatically sync to the video. I don't own any Airpods, but this seems like a great feature to me, especially if you're vlogging. If you've tested this feature or if you want to buy me some Airpods, then please let me know in the comments below. The 1R is generally more stable, it crashes less often and just runs a lot smoother. I've had issues before where the camera freezes or where the screen flickers, but I haven't had any of those issues since I've done the update. There are now more video formats, codecs and frame rates. When you use the 4K mod, you can now choose the MP4 format. The MP4 format is only available using the basic stabilization. If you want to use the Insta360 full flow state stabilization, then you must use the INSV format. Another few things to mention when you're using the MP4 format: you can choose between ultra wide, wide and linear field of view settings before you start recording, but what you shoot is what you get, so you can't then change it later. If you'd like the full flexibility of changing the field of view, the fisheye effect and the stabilization intensity, then Insta360 recommend using the INSV format. And remember, as always, you can still convert INSV files to MP4 files in Insta360 Studio or in Adobe Premiere. You can now also save 360 video with H.264 encoding and you can shoot in 24 frames and 25 frames per second. This is great for me in the UK because we shoot at 25 frames per second, so it now means in the edit that all my frame rates will match and I won't have any speed differences or frame skips. 24 frames a second is the frame rate known to give your videos a cinematic feel and look, and you can now choose this option in the menu. And sticking with cinematic, you can now choose a more cinematic aspect ratio in the app by choosing 2.35 to 1. So what else does the app have to offer? Well, this is a big one with the app because the app now has smarter color algorithms called Chromatic Calibration. This is the same update that we saw recently with Insta360 Studio, so if you haven't seen that video then you can check that out here. When you shoot in 360, the differences in lighting conditions on either side of your scene, so across the two lenses, can sometimes result in colour variations across the image. With chromatic calibration, the differences in colour across the two lenses are blended and evened out so they look more natural. I tested this new feature in really challenging conditions for the camera in really bright early morning sunlight, and this would be a situation usually where the camera struggles to get an even blend between the two lenses and to stitch it together so it looks nice and natural. If we look at these images without colour calibration on, you can see the harsh stitch line and the major variation in colour between the two lenses. You can then simply switch colour calibration on by selecting the 3 dots in the top right hand corner and then toggling the colour calibration button on here in the app. And it's that simple. The difference in the blend of colour and the smoother stitch line just speaks for itself. You now have a wider field of view setting for the 4K wide angle mod. It expands the vertical axis of your field of view even further than ultra wide. And this is great to keep all your action in the frame for those point of view type shots. And sticking with field of view, you can also now switch the field of view in your night photo shots. ShotLab now has more flexibility with the stop motion feature because you can now apply half speed to the stop motion effect. When you're shooting log video, you can now apply the default LUT color in the app, so you don't have to export it to Premiere or to the studio first. To do this, you first need to shoot in log mode. Log mode basically gives you a flat image with a wide dynamic range so you can capture the darkest through to the brightest parts of your shot without losing the detail in your image. Log mode itself is not a nice and not a finished shot, it's purely giving you the tool to capture the information so that you can then adjust it later to create a nice image. So to do this you need to apply a LUT to your image, and a LUT is basically like a filter, if you like, that brings out the best colours and usually the best contrast in your shot. You can apply a default colour LUT easily in the app by selecting the 3 dots in the top right hand corner and then turning the LUT on. It's that simple, and it transforms your shots by bringing out the best colours and making it really vibrant and really punchy. Applying this LUT in the app is really useful for a quick colour grade, but it doesn't really hold on to the highlights and doesn't adjust the contrast as best as it could. Now if you want to make finer adjustments to your contrast and effectively grade your shot, then you need to take it into another platform like Premiere. And of course you can do this easily if you have got Premiere with the Insta360 plugin. So as expected, Insta360 have given us a lot of features with this update, and they've addressed a lot of issues that people were having. By far for me, my two favourite updates were the Chromatic Calibration update and the audio update. Let me know in the comments what updates you are most impressed with, and also what you'd like to see in future updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.